I'm going to show you how to set up and operate my working crate mod Blackhawk now. You're going to start with the VMod tool gun here. I'm going to open it up, go to the schematic tab, and go to VMod Blackhawk. Then once you got that, just right click it, load it in. Now this thing on the left here is part of the physics entity, but unless you want to copy it onto the ground, then you're going to want to remove it. This is the redstone that enables you to actually make it hover at a certain height using this altitude meter here. So let me get rid of this. We don't need this backup block anymore. We also, let's get this controller out of here and get rid of this lectern. I will show you how this works, and I will just copy this onto the ground in case you do want to use it. Okay, now this has been copied, I'm going to remove this from the physics entity. So first, let's check the rotors up here. These things should already come with glue, but it may not be rendering. If you can check just by clicking this, and if it kind of turns into its own physics entity, which you can see, or its own entity, then you can tell the glue is still here and it's working. So that part is good to go. We already grabbed the controller out of there. So if we open up the controller and we hold down left alt and then start pulling back on this, you can see that that starts activating, so that's good. But let's try to turn on the motor now. So we can turn everything on by flicking this lever. And it looks like everything turned on first try, so that's nice. If you have trouble with the engine, you may have to break and replace the back if it filled up with carbon dioxide. It also looks like it turned on the main gyro initially. So you're going to open this up and press left shift, and I'll show you all of the keybinds that I have set for my thing, because the controller has the same number of buttons, the same types of buttons, but you can change the different keybind inputs like from your keyboard or mouse. So the left trigger up there is my left shift, so that spins the gyro down. You can see it's decelerating. If we push it again, it gets spun up. Basically, the faster it's spinning, the more stable the helicopter is, so it helps you hover it while it's on, but you can't really turn while it's on, so we don't want that on right now. This should be receiving power up here, so if you start activating this and pulling back on your mouse, you should see it start wiggling, which it is. It doesn't render properly, but it is working if it's wiggling. Once we flick that lever, these things should have activated, so you can use these. These are just door cannons. We'll point both of them out here. There are these sliding doors here and here. Come up here now with your controller and right-click onto that tweaked controller hub. Now we can click spacebar and it will spin up the rotor, but it won't actually fly or do anything. In order to fly, you're going to hold down left alt and start pulling back on your mouse, which will gradually change the angle of those rotors enough that you can start lifting off. You don't have to go crazy with it as well. If you go crazy with it, then you're going to go up really fast. So you probably don't want to do that all the time. There is also a certain cutoff where one power level is going to make you descend slightly, and one is going to make you ascend slightly. It looks like right now we are descending very, very slowly. So now you can just maneuver with WASD, and you kind of angle the helicopter in the direction you want to go. You get a lot of momentum, so you kind of like slide around. It's not great because it's not true helicopter maneuvering, because we are maneuvering with like rockets on either side. It's not like maneuvering with only the helicopter blades, but this is how we can avoid computer craft. But we are going down, so let's pull back on this a little bit. And we're going to start ascending. I programmed it so that if you push 1, then you start shooting some of the rocket pods on one side, and 2 is the other rocket pods. Those are those buttons on the side, the green and the red buttons. Again, I'll show you my keybinds in a minute. They are expendable, so once you've shot them one time, I mean, you have to reload them, basically, on the ground. But let's say we want to be more stable, we can go ahead and push left shift, and see that activates the gyro. And now we really can't turn. But we will still be sliding in the direction we had momentum previously, so you can try to offset that with the thrusters and eventually stop it. But it may be easier to turn yourself around and come to a more complete stop before activating that. As you can see now, we're a lot more stable. So now I'm going to show you the different ways you can actually hover with it hands-free without having to hold on to the controller all the time. So once we're back on the ground, if you come over here, you can click this analog lever right here to level 4, which will start making you ascend. So if we come out here, we spin the rotors up again, we lock that, it is just going to make you ascend. So let's turn that off. and it'll fall back down. Level 3, I don't remember if level 3 makes you descend or ascend. It looks like it does very gradually. So you will start going up with that. It's almost hovering, but not quite. And if you flick that, you can then obviously go hands-free. You don't have to be constantly holding the controller to keep outputting a signal to the rotor blades to change their angle. The other way is over here. You can use this system, which will pull a redstone signal from this altitude meter back here. Right now it's set to 100. Let's just set it to like 30. If we come over here and flick that lever, it will start outputting a signal. And it's now trying to tilt these things. You can actually see that it did update it visually. So if we were to come in here and we were to activate the rotors, we will start ascending. Let's take the gyro off so I can maneuver. But right now I am providing no input with this controller. I can get rid of the controller and it's still going to work. If you lock the gyro, we do continue to ascend, and we will keep doing that until we get to 30 blocks in the air. We can override it and ascend faster if we want, but basically what's going to happen is once we hit 30 blocks, we're going to see this thing start bouncing a little bit as it tries to turn it off to keep you at about 30 blocks. You can see we just ascended there a little bit. So we are going to basically be hovering at 30 blocks, more or less. For example, if we drop this down to 20, we will descend until we get to 20 blocks relatively quickly. And then it's going to pick back up once it realizes that. And it's like, oh, now we got to start hovering. So you do slide around. It's not true hovering. You have to provide a little bit of input, but that's just for controlling the height. Of course, you can also use this up here if you don't want to mess around with that system, especially because it requires the external system, which you cannot fit on this thing unless you modified it a lot, and then it wouldn't look like a Blackhawk. You would have to have that chunk loaded pretty much. But let's turn off the rotor so we fall down. And if you don't want this active, just flick that lever and it'll turn off the feature. So that is how you set up and operate the Blackhawk. Hopefully that helped if you had any questions. And now happy flying, or hovering.